Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Monday Mashup with Hightop Sports. This show is brought to you by Prize Picks. We got to go over reliable, who just got it done nice and clean as usual. The rebound team, who bounced back after a tough week last week. Do you like that? Someone just slapped it around a little bit, then peeled off. There's a couple options here, but we got it down to one. And then game of the week, there wasn't really any sexy games, you can say. But this one was pretty good. I'll give it this one. We're going to go ahead and introduce our co-host. We've got Cody, the Professor, ladies and gentlemen. Then Derek, the Duck, Zelmer, and then Cowboy Ty. Ty, what's going on, big dog? Ladies and gents, let's connect the square here. Let's do a little connected dots, right? So W in this box. Raise your hand if you got to win this week. Ready? Wow, that sucks. Okay. We almost did it. We almost did the whole thing. We almost connected the square, but we didn't. So
wait till
thanks,
we have
Ty.
a bye, and then we can do it. Wait till I get a bye week.
Honestly, I would still be hesitant.
You got like a Mercer's on your schedule, or like a school the
They
Blind?
do.
We got one dub left on the schedule. I think it's Charleston. I don't know. Somebody like
Hey.
Hey,
Leave that, baby.
hey.
Leave that, baby.
We're not catching strays this
God,
early.
Oregon hits number one in the AP poll since 1947. And this guy is just.
You guys can't tell me shit right now.
I got nothing. I got nothing for
How
you.
about
It's
Army
Oregon than
Navy
Florida.
game end of the year could be for a CFP spot. How about that?
Well, so no, is that game even going to happen? I was actually talking about it the other day because that is the week of the playoffs. So I don't think that game happens. That game used to be like the bowl game. They're in a conference now, meaning they would play in a conference championship, meaning if they make the playoffs, that game doesn't happen, I believe.
Well, I know
That
Army
was
Navy
shocking.
still has their own week. I know they still have their own week.
Okay. Well,
I'm
figure it
pretty
out,
sure
Tyler.
that's
Make sure you have the
still
info when you come back. I'm pretty sure that was a point of conversation. I was talking with my buddy about it earlier this week, actually. We take it for granted, and now I'm like, I need that game, even though we have the playoffs, right? It's just you expect it to be on, right? It's like death taxes and Army Navy. Like it just that week, it's like cold and nobody cares, but it's like we got Army Navy. Let's rock and roll. Let's get into it, boys. We got all reliable Kurtz and Getty, Indiana, the boys. All reliable Kurtz and Getty for future Florida coaches. Cody just said they absolutely demolished Nebraska. Okay, see you, Tyler. They absolutely demolished Nebraska. And the reason why, again, they're all reliable because you go in there, you handle your business. When everyone's like, you haven't played anybody, are they really the real deal? You haven't really matched up with anybody in the Big Ten, but they've hammered everybody in the Big Ten. This Nebraska team has been looking sexy. Obviously has one loss, but everybody was fired up with this Nebraska team thinking, hey, they're going to get it done. 3 interceptions, 2 fumbles, made Dylan Raiola look like a 3-star freshman. Cody, what were your thoughts on the game, big guy?
You know, Kurtz and Yeti, they just play a straightforward type of ball. Their brand is they're not going to get penalties. They're extremely disciplined, and I'm going to tell you, they do nothing great, but they do a lot of stuff well, and that's what their team does. Running back, they have a couple good running backs, Cross and then Justice. Those two kids are very, very good, dynamic. Their offensive line on the run blocking is probably top 10 in the nation right now. I mean, they are incredibly good. And then, interestingly, they throw more back shoulder fades than anybody else in college football. It's a weird dynamic because they'll do it like for a 10 or 15-yard pass. They'll throw a little back shoulder fade. It's kind of cool. It works for them. They don't have any like superstars at wide receiver, but everybody catches the ball. And then on defense, they come out, they keep everything ahead of them, and they play solid ball. And they had Raiola in a blender.
I was watching it thinking I was going to see the greatest show on turf, and I was like, this is just smash mouth football, like just the basics. Like there's nobody you can point to. Again, they ran the ball 11 yards. Justin Ellison had 11 yards per carry, and then 8 yards. Again, just quietly just suffocating you. But again, it's just the system. It's all everyone is. He goes, hey, everyone, listen to me. Buy in. Go where you're supposed to go. I'll take care of the rest. Like that's how I feel these conversations go. And it's like, look, these teams are going to try to do too much. We're going to keep it simple, and they're going to beat themselves. Essentially, is what's happening here. Look, I think Indiana is going to be a legitimate threat because just how disciplined they are. Again, 4 penalties for like 36 yards. They're not going to make too many mistakes. They're going to force a lot of these teams that are. I mean, he hit the transportal too, but I don't know. It just seems like these guys have been playing together forever. It was really cool to watch, Derek.
Yeah, Indiana, they're kind of like that prototypical Big Ten football team that you think of. They ran for over 200 yards on the ground. So it's like every time that Indiana had the opportunity to get the ball turned over, they absolutely did so. And kind of like you were talking about, like a threat going forward, they have Washington, Michigan State, Purdue, and Michigan yet to play. If they won those games, each of those games, they're sitting at a minimum of 11 wins with a game at the Horseshoe in Ohio State a little later in the year. So Indiana is going to be a team we're going to be talking about come playoff time. And to be honest, they have a legitimate chance to make the Big Ten championship game. So it's kind of their own fates in their own hand, and I'm really excited to see what they do. Kind of like Cody said, though, they don't really have a world burner on the outside. They're not going to take the top off, but they did have 11 players that recorded a reception yesterday. So they spread the ball out extremely well. And then, in addition to that, they're running for, 78 yards a carry. So Indiana's a dangerous team.
Hopefully we don't jinx them. I feel like every team we say, hey, their path to the playoffs seems pretty easy, and they fall apart. But this team looks legitimate, and again, their path is easy. They could find themselves, again, let's say they do lose to Ohio State. They're 11-1. You see a rematch between Ohio State and Oregon. Let's say Oregon gets it done. Now Ohio State's sitting with 2 losses, and Indiana's sitting there with 1. There's this conversation of, is there an advantage of not going to the conference game play a factor here? It's going to get wild, and I love it. Ty, your thoughts, big guy?
Yeah, so, I mean, as Indiana, you don't need 5-star talent to be competitive in college football. You just have to have a bunch of guys that fit your system and buy into your system, and then all of it kind of flows together. And that's kind of what has happened over there. I was more impressed with their defense and how they got after Raiola. I thought that Nebraska was going to give them all they could handle, and Raiola looked absolutely lost. Indiana was destroying them, but they lost Rourke out indefinitely with a hand injury. That is going to be interesting with Jackson running that. But even though he did look okay when he did come in for Rourke, so it's going to see how I'm just going to see how they move forward with Jackson at the helm. But they run the ball very well. Like you said, they throw back shoulder fades. It's a system. It works. And if you have the right guys, they can compete against anybody.
Rourke was a big piece to this offense. Again, a guy that's a senior presence to this backfield, doesn't make too many mistakes. So you're right. It's going to be interesting with Tavion Jackson. He went 7 for 8 for 91 yards and 2 touchdowns, but at this point, Nebraska was in shambles. Speaking of 5-star quarterbacks that played this past Saturday, there was a sexy one this past Saturday that got it done that didn't get put in a blender, but put the opposing team in a blender. And that gives us our rebound team of the week, ladies and gents. Old Billy Ballsack was in his bag. Okay. 48-20 to Kentucky. We back. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we are back. I got 2 weeks to rub this in, to ride on this high. Oklahoma's firing their offensive coordinator. We had a running back have more touchdowns than Oklahoma and Texas combined. Welcome to the SEC, baby. Welcome to the show. Florida looked good. This was, I said it on our show yesterday. I believe in, Cody, I'll go to you after this. This was the best game in the Billy Napier era. Complete game from top to bottom. The most dominant game they've looked. He's got some good wins, right? The Utah game 2 years ago, but complete game, I can't think of another one. Cody?
Yeah, probably the best game at his tenure at Florida. I'm gonna say this. It was kind of interesting for his halftime interview. They run to the sideline real fast, and he gets them 45 seconds, and he goes, "Hey, they scored on a flea flicker and a kick return." So he's like, I'll take that for a win. I kind of agree. I pounded him last week. I said the players got to step up and make plays, and it was on the players. And this week, this is a players win. Offensive line, Damian George looked a lot better in pass blocking and run blocking. They did get to Lagway a little bit. He had a couple sacks, nothing too crazy though. Threw one bad interception. That's just the speed of the game. He's got to figure that out. But, all around, the Florida Gators look great on defense. Ball was running the ball, and I don't know if those other running backs are gonna even get to see the field after that performance.
This is the part of the show where we win some money, boys and girls. With Prize Picks, you can win up to 100 times your money with just as little as 4 correct. And the best part is when you do win, you get your money back within 15 minutes. I think it's right back in your account, so you can get right back into it, make some more picks and whatnot. But tonight, for the Monday night matchup special, Derrick Henry for more than half a touchdown. I love it. Just got to get in there one time. Derrick Henry will get it done. Lamar Jackson has been slinging the rock, and I expect him to sling the rock even more tonight against Tampa with more than 230.5 yards, and then get down to that one and pass it to Derrick Henry. And then for the last little special wrap up here, J.K. Dobbins. More than 79.5 yards. Why do you ask J.K. Dobbins have more? Because Gus Edwards is an IR, and not to mention, Harbaugh loves to run the ball. They're going to run the ball. J.K. Dobbins and the Cardinals just ain't got it. Be sure to check out Prize Picks. Use the code Hightop. When you do, you get back $50 instantly after you play $5 on your first lineup. Use code Hightop to get back $50 when you just spend $5 on your first lineup. Be sure to check it out and run your game. Back to the show. Look, Trail Webb is still dominant, and this line was exceptional, especially against Kentucky, which was considered one of the top SEC defensive line. First-round draft pick in Walker on that D-line as well. Quiet all night long. Derek, how did it look to see a number one team in the country go at it this past weekend?
Yeah, the Oregon game was great, but speaking of teams who are not number one in the country, Florida also looked solid this week. This is admittedly a game I didn't get to see a whole lot of, but when I was taking a look at the stat line, there were a lot of things that stuck out to me. First off, DJ Lagway, 37 yards per completion. Is that accurate? There's no way, right?
Stud.
Can't be. Jaden Ball, 106 and 5 touchdowns. Elijah Badger averaging 49.3 yards per catch. Like, what was going on in Gatorland yesterday? In terms of Billy Napier, I don't know if it's enough to save him. You know, I know half of your fan base is really divided on this. I have a feeling it's probably not going to be enough to save him regardless of how this plays out this year. But this man looks to have him on the right track. It looks like he's got a hold of the locker room once again, and they're trending in the right direction. With that being said, after the bye week, Georgia, Texas, LSU.
All right. Oh, look. Semantics.
Hold up. Followed by FCS Florida State. So you have one more win on your schedule for sure. I'm with it, man. I think the Gators are trending in the right direction. It's just a hell of a schedule to try to get right with moving forward.
Speaking of pile of dog shit, Tyler.
So, honestly, I hate to admit this.
Yeah, we're
I
back.
have to say it, but you guys are getting better every single week, and I was thoroughly impressed because I thought they were going to do a plethora of running backs, and they did not. They just said, Jaden Ball, go score. And scoring he did. Lagway only had to throw the ball 14 times, and when he did, he was efficient. But the best way to help a young quarterback is to run the football. And run the football they did. And the story of the whole game was the defense. The defense played absolutely lights out. And like I said 3 weeks ago, stop telling them where to go, let them be athletes. And they've seemed to have done that. And I can tell you, they're starting to play football. And it doesn't make me happy, but it's what I see.
Hey, we got plenty of room on the bandwagon, big guy. And yeah, I think they listen to you. And look, that defense is something that we beat the drum of, look, it's too complex. Just go out there and hit somebody. And by golly, they're flying around and hitting somebody. And it has been fun to watch. Something that was fun to watch yesterday is a good old welcome to the SEC where it means more. Texas absolutely bodied. Look, the score doesn't show that, but Look, I love my hook'ems, but that was fun to see yesterday because they came in extremely cocky. And I said this, I was like, as much as I love me some hook'ems, there's like part of me, it's like, look, you don't just come piss on my lawn and think that it's going to be okay. I like that Georgia was able to get it done. I hate it now that Georgia's back on this high again. So it's lesser of two evils, I guess. But man, that Kirby Smart interview at the end of the game, everybody picked against us. The referees were against us. This is exactly what I thought was going to happen. I felt weird about this game. I was like, everybody is high on Texas. They hadn't played a lick. Oklahoma clearly is in shambles. Everybody was smoking guns after that game, and I was like, easy. I still think Georgia has a lot of holes. Carson Beck is complete and utter trash. This Georgia team is very vulnerable. They will be, especially in 2 weeks. But Tyler, I'll let you go.
I've been saying that since week 0 that Carson Beck's a bum.
You're
I've
up.
been saying it since week 0. Carson Beck is not a great quarterback. He is surrounded by great talent. He isn't good. And it showed because he played terrible. They won by 15. The defense absolutely destroyed the Texas front. I couldn't believe what I said. Quinn Ewers was in shambles. I'm not a big fan of him right now either. I can tell you, neither one of those quarterbacks look NFL ready to me, and everybody thinks they're so good. but when you surround bad quarterbacks with good talent that makes them look good. But as for the game, like Georgia and ETN were just dominating the front. In the trenches, they destroyed Texas on both sides of the football. And that's how you win. I mean, you can throw water bottles all you want, but at the end of the day, like you got beat. You just got flat beat up. And it wasn't even a contest. I mean, scored 30-15 doesn't even really tell you the story.
They even threw Arch in there to give it an opportunity, and he couldn't get it done. Look, now everybody has a DJ Lagway. It's unfortunate, right? But sometimes you've got peasants around, and they got to learn how to figure it out. Cody, your thoughts on the game?
You mean Arch, perfect quarterback prospect ever to come out, the highest rated 5-star? He did not look too hot to me. I'm going to say this: Georgia might be the worst first half team that I've ever seen. It's really incredible how slow, sloppy, just inept on offense. Like I don't know what they do. I don't know if they're out partying all night the night before, and drag racing and everything else like that. But
they're driving.
It's absolutely incredible to see a juggernaut of Georgia just be so inept in the first half. I don't understand it. And then I don't know what Kirby tells these boys in halftime, but he seems to get them fired up. I will say this: Georgia defense looked like a Georgia defense of old, flying around. I mean, there was 2 or 3 dogs around the ball carrier at all times, and they were laying the absolute wood. They did get hit with 1 targeting call, but I'm here to tell you, Georgia, if they could get going on offense, nobody can beat them. And if they can figure out how to wake up in the first half, I mean, just place another mantle on their trophy.
I mean, Ducks get number 1 in the country and still no respect. You hear that? Nobody can beat him, Derek. You guys have a loss as far as I'm concerned. What were your thoughts on the game, Derek?
Yeah, it's you know what I thought was really funny about this is, like, you hear a lot of people in the SEC who are like, Texas and Oklahoma weren't going to be ready for the SEC just because, different styles of play. The SEC obviously typically has better trench warfare. And that's exactly the reason why Texas lost this game on both sides of it. The offensive line, was atrocious. It was porous all game. Quinn Ewers couldn't get comfortable in the pocket. The run game was fairly inept all game. They were able to avoid the big play. And on the defensive line, they weren't able to get the pressure they needed, although Carson Beck was just handing over balls, missing big throws left and right. So I don't really know what's going on with Georgia. I do feel like if Carson Beck can get his stuff together, though, they are a good quarterback play away from absolutely being the front runner for a national title again. I mean, the defense is absolutely unreal, just given the weapons that Texas has around, and they were able to shut them down for the most part. I think they held them somewhere around 250 yards total throughout the game. So that just tells you the caliber of that defense. But they're a scary team, man. That's a team I never want to play because of that defense. It's one where you can't go in there just banking on putting up a ton of points, which I feel like has kind of been Texas's identity to this point throughout the year, and they figured out they couldn't happen. And they just didn't have enough in the trenches to hang around with Georgia. So honestly, they look like they could be the best team in the country right now, despite the quarterback play.
Wow, from the Duck himself.
Want to play him.
From the Duck himself.
Why do you guys think they look so sloppy in the first half?
I don't either. I don't see it.
Boys and girls, this is the part of the show where I make you look just a little more sexier moving forward, okay? Anywhere worth going is worth going in a nice pair, the perfect pair of boots from Tecovas. In the 2015, Tecovas was born out of Texas, created the perfect pair, handcrafted this beautiful, sexy piece of leather to go over your foot to make your wife or your husband go, damn, baby. That's what Tecovas does for you, okay? And not only that, what makes them so fantastic is their experience when you go to the store. You are treated like royalty. They roll out the red carpet. You walk in, beverage in hand. What can I do for you today, sir? Bam! Want one of those. Try them on. Rock and roll. Look good. Feel good. Play good, baby. That's what Tecovas does for you. We are pumped to be teamed up with Tecovas. So be sure to go check out Tecovas. Head on over to Tecova right now. Use the code. Don't use the code. What you're going to do is right now, 10% off at tecovas.com/hightop when you sign up for email and text. That's 10% off at tecovas.com/hightop. Not the code / right there. So tecovas.com/hightop. See site for details. Tecovas. Push towards West.
Listen,
We'll find out in 2 weeks when they play a real
each
team.
and every week, there's somebody new that's the best team in the country. Like, oh, Texas is just now they lose a game, and all of a sudden, oh, now Georgia's the best team in the country. Like, it's each and every week. Like, what have you done? Like, Oregon hasn't lost. I'm going to be on the Duck side here. They haven't lost, and they really haven't been a dogfight since Boise. And Boise, obviously, is pretty damn good.
And they play talent, right? They've been tested. It's not like they're just scooting by like Indiana, and I'm not no shot towards Indiana, but if that was the same boat, I would argue a little bit more. But look, I think this is the first time in a couple of years where we're looking around like, who's the number one guy, right? Because before it was just Georgia or Bama. Like it was just, they were always the one until like week 11 and 12. We are in complete disarray with who is the legitimate number one, and I love it. But hey, don't blink. Florida will be there in a couple weeks. Ever. Yeah, don't blink. Florida will be there in a couple weeks. Let's get into.
I'm taking Army, baby. Army number one.
FSU fans are in just complete disarray. Let's get into peeled off. Back to mid. Michigan is back to what they were 4 years ago before Harbaugh kind of got into a little bit of a rhythm. I think, look, this is a slippery slope for Michigan. They recruit 15, 17 every single year. They're kind of quiet. They're like a Clemson, but they don't recruit the same way that Clemson does, and what they're going to need to recruit like in the Big Ten. They're going to have to flip the switch. They've kind of stuck to their old ways, and it is biting them in the ass severely. Illinois went out there and just clapped them, handled them. That one-trick pony of like, all I can run the ball. It worked for 2 weeks. Somehow USC, but USC's losing to everybody, so who am I kidding? But Michigan, look, this is just as bad in my opinion, although the record doesn't show. It's close to the FSU fallback. And the reason I say that is because of what's back there, right? The recruiting class like FSU, the closet's empty, right? So we'll see if they get more aggressive in the transfer portal. But this could be a slippery slope for old Blue here. Cody?
Yeah, when you go one-dimensional, you're beatable, and Michigan is very beatable. They cannot throw the – I mean, I repeat, they cannot throw the ball at all. It's absolutely terrible, pick after pick. And, you know, it's one of those things where I think Michigan's going to go back to the mid-pack of the Big Ten until they find a new coach. Or maybe get Connor Stallion back after his suspension is over. I don't know what they need to do, but I'm telling you, it's like watching another Iowa team minus they don't have a great elite defense.
Tyler?
Well, I honestly think this team's just a quarterback away, and that's just me seeing what I see. Like they still can run the ball very well in the offense. They still have a really good defense. And they still have a ton of NFL talent on the side. But if you can't throw the ball, I don't care how good you are, you can't block 11 guys. I don't know. Maybe it was the jerseys that Illinois were wearing. I had them all in disarray because they had me in disarray, I can tell you. Luke Altmaier only threw for 80 yards, and they won by 14. I mean, it's insane what is happening over there at Michigan. They just can't throw the ball. Jack Tuttle's not it. They've tried to use Orgy, but all he can do is run. They had that walk-on freshman try to throw the ball. I don't even remember his name anymore. Like, he can't throw the ball. Michigan does not have a quarterback, and it is affecting all of the play. Because if you can't stay on the field, your defense can only hold so many times.
Dick's loving the sound of this. They've got Michigan, I think, coming up here in a couple of weeks. So that should be no problem for you guys, huh?
You know, Michigan, like he said, I think he's kind of right when he said they're one quarterback away. I think if they do have a formidable quarterback and they can do anything in the passing game, I'm talking like just even marginally, I think this team could potentially be dangerous. Just because, I mean, although the running game didn't look great yesterday, they are one-dimensional, and every team who lines up against them on Saturdays knows that. You know, it's no secret what's coming, and, you know, it gets a lot easier to stop that when you don't have a quarterback who can roll out. Like Ty said, you know, there's 3 quarterbacks they've tried this year, and none of them have looked like they could be the guy there. So it's, you know, it doesn't look good for them moving forward. I was just kind of looking ahead to their November schedule, and they have Oregon, Indiana, and Ohio State, who are combined 19-1 right now. So it doesn't get any easier. And then they have a game with Northwestern in there, who, you know, that's not even a gimme game when you can't score any points. So Michigan's in true danger of missing a bowl game, you know. it was a weird thing to say because, you know, you just take a look at the fall off that happened from the national title game last year between Michigan and Washington. They're sitting at 8-6 right now. And it's, you know, it's wild to see what's going on. But until these guys get this quarterback situation figured out, I think this is kind of where they're at. And I have a feeling, you know, over the course of the transfer portal cycle after this season happens, I think Michigan goes heavily after one of those top tier quarterbacks.
Who's got it better than us? A lot of people do. This time, Michigan. This time. Look, they're kind of like that FSU schedule. It's a gauntlet coming up for them. This is fun to watch.
Do you think you think Michigan messed up by promoting within for the
No,
head coach?
I think it was good with the culture. I just
somebody.
Yeah, I think it was good for the culture. I think, again, they kind of stuck to their ways like Clemson did. And look, it could come back around. It's working for Clemson right now where you built through this recruiting class that Michigan has consistently. They get a lot of good, high-quality 3 stars, low, mid, 4 stars, and they always finish in that 18 to 15. With this growth of the Big Ten, you got to evolve. I think that's the biggest thing is the Big Ten's got better. The Big Ten's gotten a little bit thicker, so they can't just beat up the entire Big Ten for 11 games and then just worry about Ohio State, right? Like they just literally built to beat Ohio State and then win a couple of games. It's changing. It's like that for everybody.
I think Harbaugh knew what he was doing when he went to the NFL. He knew what was coming. He wasn't dumb. He knew it was coming.
He tried to leave last year, and then he was able to bring his boys back and go, let's go give one more ride. And they were able to, again, ride out that last little bit of the Big Ten. But let's get into the last bit here. The game of the week, Tennessee Vols. I don't know if you guys saw this clip. Or excuse me, Tennessee Vols. Vols in Alabama, where Saban on the Game Day show talked about where this game is a bigger rivalry than the Auburn game. Did you guys see this clip? He said that this game has these guys get more fired up for this game. He's like, I have to fire the guys up for the Auburn game. But this game goes way back to like the cigar celebration and whatnot. I had no idea. Like I was shocked when I heard this. So kind of going back and seeing that whole cigar celebration kind of has a little bit sweeter taste to it. But Alabama, what is their identity? Lack of discipline. They had 15 penalties for 115 yards. They only ran the ball for 75 yards and only threw the ball for 239 yards. Who are they? What are they doing? They are in shambles. And the talent on that team is ridiculous. A lot of guys left in the last transfer portal. I think this could go from bad to worse real quick because I think they're losing the team and they're losing it quickly, especially with just the temper tantrums going around. Derek, what are your thoughts on this big guy?
Yeah, man, it's so surreal to see a Bama play like they have this year. You know, it's like basically in my lifetime, I'm just used to seeing Bama be in this absolute juggernaut, and that could not be farther from what we're seeing in the field. Not even just this week, but over the last couple of weeks, whether it's the South Carolina game, whether it's the Vandy game, or this game this week. Like, they just look bad, which is crazy because, you know, Jaden Miller coming into the year, there was a whole bunch of Heisman hype behind his name too, and he looked sloppy at best, if we put it that way. And this is not even me like shining sunshine on Tennessee. I don't think Tennessee looked very good either. I thought Nico had plenty of holes in his game. He missed plenty of big throws. You know, in regards to like how the wide receiver room, the defense performed, they were pretty equal on both sides. But Tennessee, if they didn't have the run game they had yesterday, they would have been in a world of trouble because they outrushed Bama 214 to 75. So with that run game was. Right. They have an identity, though. You know, at a minimum, they understand who they are, and, you know, that's wonderful. But Bama doesn't have that. You know, they can't really lean on their defense because their defense has been spotty. They've had a couple of games where their pass game looks like it's starting to get in sync, and then they have back-to-back weeks where they just can't move the ball. Then they have a couple of weeks where the ground game explodes, and I think Jam Miller had something like 40-some yards this week, so it's like they couldn't move the ball on the ground. So I don't know what Bama's doing. You know, it's going to be a team where you can't overlook them just because they are Alabama. And like you said, they do have so much talent and so much depth. But at the same time, this is not the same Bama team that we've been seeing for the last, 15 years.
For sure. Cody?
Yeah, so Bama loses to the second best team in Tennessee, and it's a shame. You know, you're 0-2 in the state of Tennessee. Obviously, Vandy being the number one team in Tennessee right now, and then obviously, I guess the Vols, whatever. But I'm going to say this: Alabama is one-dimensional in the pass game. They chuck it up to Williams and just pray that he's gonna catch it, and it's one of those things where in the past Alabama has had 3, 4, 5 wide receivers that were elite, and it seems like nobody else is really stepping up. The run game is spotty, and the Tennessee defense showed up, and they when they needed stops, they got them. Nico is still Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. He's 5 touchdowns or 5 interceptions guy, and I think they might start looking into the transfer portal next year for a quarterback, because I don't know if Nico, I'm leaving you tomorrow is going to be the answer.
Ooh, that's a bit bold there. Cody always keeps a bold one for us.
I don't think you're going to see Nico go anywhere. I mean, he's still young. I mean, he's still a lot to learn. I saw a lot of good things, but I saw a lot of bad things. I saw a lot of things you see from a young quarterback. But as from the other side of the football, the problem with Alabama is they can't run the ball. Not like we're used to seeing. They've always had solid running backs. And Jalen Milroe cannot drop back and throw the ball 45 times to win a football game. That is not who Jalen Milroe is. Hit a terrible interception in the end zone. That ended up being a huge play in that ball game. And Milroe is a guy who can't just stand in a pocket and throw. He's got to move. He's got to move. And he had 19 targets to Ryan Williams. 19. That is relying on a 17-year-old kid a lot more than you should be. So to me, it's just like he is lost. He's just praying that Ryan Williams makes him look good. And he can only do so much. He's not Superman. Jalen Milroe is a very overrated player. I've been saying it all along. He just, once again, he's very athletic. He's very gifted. But drop back and pass 45 times is not going to win you games. And on the other side, Dylan Sampson ran through them in the second half. They had no answer for him whatsoever. And that dude was just absolutely demoralizing Alabama. They were just ripping their souls out. He was running down the field.
The SEC is wide open. A&M leads it right now, by the way. They are the number 1 team in the SEC. They're undefeated. Followed by LSU, and I guess you would say Georgia. They both have one, and Texas is still in that boat as well. And I think Vandy, I want to say Vandy, it has 1 loss, I think. I can't remember. It is, the SEC is going to come down to the damn wire. And I'm loving every minute of it. It's been fun to watch. They're going to rip everybody each other apart. It's going to be fun to see how this plays out. The projection right now, I think, had 5 SEC teams, 3 Big Ten, 1 or 2 ACC, and then Boise State is kind of what it was shaping up to be. But who knows how this thing's going to shape up? I think 2 ACC teams, I think Clemson and Miami have an absolute lock. Kudos to them. Notre Dame was first one out as of now, which I love seeing. They had not too many good wins. Not too many good wins. Look, week to week, though, this thing is going to be completely different. I mean, think about week 1, what the AP poll said. Florida State was number 10. You know what I mean? Just think about what it was 8 weeks ago and how far we have come. So, another great week of Monday mashup. Derek the Duck Zelmer, Cody the Professor, and Cowboy Depressed Ty. Yeah, is that about right?
I mean, I am depressed about my team, but the college football season's great, buddy.
Oh.
I love it. Notre Dame's
Best
got
college
2 more
football
losses.
season
They're
ever.
going to play Army and Navy. I love this. This is Army, Navy. They're both beating Notre Dame. You heard it here first. They're both beating Notre Dame.
Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe, boys and girls, and make sure you check out Prize Pick and Tecovas. We'll see you boys in the next one. Peace and love, baby.